7th Avenue.
6 o'clock, let's call this meeting to order, please. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Here.
Liska.
Present.
Cox.
Here.
Olszewski.
Here.
Reuters.
Here.
Buckhauser.
Here.
Spears.
Present.
Stewing. Here. Quorum is established.
Do we have any citizen comments? If not, we'll jump right into business. We have representatives from the Lakota group here today to give us a comp plan orientation. So gentlemen, take it away.
Evening. Is that? It is that? Okay. Good evening. Thanks for having me here today. My name is Nick Calaverisas. I know it's a very long last name, but as I tell people, it's Greek for Smith. I just think of it that way. I'm the vice president with the Lakota Group, and we're planning and urban design firm based in Chicago. I have one of my colleagues with me here today, Jesse Wheel. And we're here to present sort of an overview of the comprehensive planning process. And I'm sure, as you're aware, it's started and we are moving forward with it. And we want to have an opportunity tonight to at least give you an overview of the process and what's going to be in the plan and to answer any questions you may have going forward. I know that some of you have already sat through some of this presentation at an economic development committee meeting just a few months ago. There is some repeats in it, but at least we wanted to give an overview to the other council members and the public to see what this process is all about and also ask us questions as well. So we're very pleased to be a part of this process. We know that the last time was done in 2008. Really, our primary mission going forward is to update this plan. As you're aware, a lot of things have changed, both nationally, locally, regionally, statewide, with the economy and with other issues. So it's certainly time to update the plan and look forward the next few years about what the future for Yorkville could be. So we're very pleased that we'll be working with Christy and Chris and the other planning staff and Bart as well, and many of you going forward in this process. So, we just have about 15 slides just to sort of explain the process and just to give you an understanding of why we do comprehensive planning and what are the elements, and then what will be the specific deliverables of this whole process. And just to give you an overview of the team that was selected to help me develop the plan, there are 3 firms involved. Us, we are the project managers, and we will be managing the whole process going forward over the next 18 months to 24 months. And specifically, we are going to be doing the land use component of the plan. We're going to be looking at, okay, what do we want? What's the land use strategy going forward? We'll also be looking at urban design, landscape architecture, parks and open space, downtown development, commercial corridors. So we're going to be taking a look at all of it from that perspective. Another firm in our team is Goodman Williams Group, and they're a market and economic development specialist. So they're going to be looking at the economic development issues. And they'll help inform the overall land use strategy in terms of what can be supported in terms of new residential, new commercial, new industrial. So they'll tell us what can be supported over the next 3 to 5 years. That'll help us make decisions about what the overall land use strategy is. And then last but not least is T1 International. They're a transportation planning firm. And obviously they'll be looking at transportation, streets, infrastructure issues, other capital improvement issues as we go forward. So we're an all-Chicago team, but we're really pleased to be out in the country doing support. So,
I hope you perform better than the Bears.
Yeah, definitely. So anyway, that's the structure of the overall team and how it will look. And obviously, we're looking towards the community as our boss in the project. We want to hear from everyone in the community, in addition to the city council. And the department heads and the commissions going forward, we want to hear what they have to say in terms of what they think the issues are, and then what the vision is going forward. We've already had a number of interviews with the department heads over the last few weeks, just to get some information, collect some data about issues regarding your infrastructure systems and things like that. So they've been very, very productive so far. And then why comprehensive planning? I think a lot of people in the community probably ask that question, why we need to do it. So there's lots of different reasons of why we need to do comprehensive planning. It just helps us make better decisions as a community in terms of where we grow, how we grow, what we look like. It helps us manage our community facilities more effectively in terms of our city hall, our police and fire, library, or schools. Where are the needs for potential new facilities, where they should be located. And as I've said before, it helps us plan where certain things should go, residential to commercial to industrial, where it should grow, how it should look, and so forth. And then, obviously, when it comes to planning, we look at the physical side. I think that's what a lot of people look at is, how do we look aesthetically, visually from our buildings and our streetscape, the subdivisions that we have, the right-of-way, our parks, what do they look like? Certainly we want to make them look attractive because we want to attract residents and investors into our community, so that's a very, very important part of it. So we're going to be looking at the overall urban community very, very closely. And then we want to address, trends and issues and challenges, and some of the things we've heard so far in the process is, how do we define the downtown and what do we do with the downtown? How do we, keep our neighborhoods intact? How do we fill those subdivisions up? How do we build them and make them vibrant places? And how do we build our commercial corridors and things like that? So that's really important. So we're looking at, those specific issues and what other trends are in the community and regionally, locally, and how do we capture those trends to our greatest benefit? And, one of the other things is we want to promote some regionalism. There are opportunities on a regional basis. As I'm sure you know, the 2040 plan that was developed by CMAP not too long ago sort of builds a framework for the region and how it should grow and develop over time. We want Yorkville to sort of fit in with that regional vision as well. And there's opportunities in terms of transportation. Maybe there is that opportunity for transport and development here in Yorkville. So, those are the things that we're going to look at from the regional basis and see how it applies here in Yorkville. And it's always, when we do planning, it's always good to be a little bit visionary. What are we looking at 10, 15 years down the road in terms of our community? So we are going to ask the community their ideas and what's their vision going forward. We will be having a series of workshops with people. We'll be doing online surveys and different online forums and asking people their ideas and thoughts about the future. So it is a time to be visionary. It is going to be grounded in reality, and I do want to say that we sort of abide by what Thomas Edison once said. He had a very famous quote: "A vision without a plan is a hallucination." So we want to have it grounded in reality. So we do have a vision, but we want to make sure it meets realistic expectations. Oh, great. I think a planning process is also a good opportunity to promote civic pride in your accomplishments as a community and what you've done over the past. There is a sense of link to the past here, a sense of appreciation for it. There are some good things. You do have a historic downtown, you have some historic neighborhoods, but you are growing. And so we want to at least promote that and sort of tie that into what that vision is going to be in the future. And then, in its basic form, a comprehensive plan really is just a policy guide. You're not bound legally to follow, but it is a policy guide for how we make decisions regarding all those different things, all those different departments and commissions that we have in terms of making decisions in the future. So it is a reference guide for when decisions have to be made. And most importantly, it's, as I've said earlier, it sets the stage for where we want capital improvements to happen, what types of capital improvements, where they should go. So you should always tie your capital improvements towards what that comprehensive plan is laying out for the future. And then, you know, in terms of a comprehensive plan, usually they have a 10 to 20 year planning time frame, but they're usually updated every 5 years. So you're doing the right thing. We do work with communities that haven't updated their plans in 30 years. Some haven't updated their zoning codes in 30 years. So we do work with those communities, but you're on the right track in terms of really going back and looking at your comp plan and making sure it is relevant for what we need to have happen in the future. So I give you kudos for that. In terms of the comprehensive plan, it's only defined in the Illinois state statute by one statute up there. In terms of it's the planning commission's responsibility to develop the plan and to adopt it and follow it. And the different elements of the plan are kind of defined by the Illinois Local Planning Assistance Act. So I'm not going to go into these acts in any great detail. I'm just going to touch on them a little bit. But there is a little bit of a legal definition in Illinois state law when it comes to comp plan. And then the plan elements and the process going forward. What we are going, this is really what the basic components of the comp plan will be. The first part will be an analysis of what's happening right now. We want to have a clear snapshot of what is going on here in Yorkville, and we'll talk about that in a moment. There will be a section called the vision statement about where we want to go in the next 10 years. And then the next important part is the land use strategy. So it's sort of laying out, like I said, where do we grow, how do we grow, what do we look like? And then following that will be a series of plan goals, chapters, and then an implementation strategy for how we implement that. And then the state of the city analysis, we have started it. We've, over the last couple months, as I said a moment ago, we started the process by doing some interviews with the department heads, just to gather information about what they see the issues are. And we're going to continue the interviews. This Thursday, we're going to be back here, and then we'll be back again in December doing more interviews. And so we are, and again, the whole process is just trying to gather information and data and some ideas and opinions from people about where we need to go. So, so that process is started, and it's going to be about a 6-month process to gather all this data and to analyze it. We'll be doing a lot of different things. We'll be analyzing and reviewing a bunch of other documents, studies that have been completed for your capital facilities, for transportation, for a variety of different things, plus your roll count plans. So we will be looking at that. We'll be conducting some tours and field work. I have to say, Justin spent a couple hours today walking around your community, taking some pictures right before lunch. So we are going to be, walking around your community, looking at it, assessing it, and taking a look at all the physical features and opportunities and constraints. And so we'll be doing more stakeholder interviews. We'll be doing a series of open houses, speak outs, and then we're going to analyze all this information we have, and then get an understanding about where do we think the opportunities are for future growth in the community, where are the constraints, what are the things that we have to think about, and then we have to develop some forecasts. We have to look at least a little bit at it over the next 5 to 10 years about what could change, what could not change, and then plan accordingly. And then the state of the city analysis will be summarized in the state of the city report, which you will get to review along the process in the next 6 months. And then these are just the topic areas that we're going to look at in particular with analysis. All many of these are already mentioned, ranging from land use to infrastructure, housing, and neighborhoods, the commercial districts and corridors, parks and open space, urban design, historic preservation, environment, and natural resources. So we already received quite a lot of data from Christy and Chris and many others that we need to look at. But the analysis will generally follow these topic areas. And then the next segment is developing a vision statement, a section in the plan that sort of describes where we want to go as a community. It really sort of is a statement of consensus about where we need to go. And it forms the overall goals and strategies of the plan. So it's really kind of a summary statement of, again, what Yorkville is about in the future. And the next part, as I mentioned, is the land use strategy, and it's going to be a section of the report where we outline and we develop maps, and we're going to show, okay, this is where you're going to grow, this is where we think residential should happen, where new industrial, where reinvestment in your current neighborhood should be located. One of the goals of the strategy is to resolve any land use conflicts that may be out there. And then we want to promote sustainability. You know, what's going to sustain us as a community going forward so that we don't experience what we experienced in 2008. Many communities have experienced issues regarding overbuilt subdivisions, developments that never happened. So what we want to do is think about being sustainable, making sure we grow in a rational, realistic fashion so it doesn't overtax us as a community. So that's going to be one of our overall goals. And then we're going to outline in the map. And one thing, we don't like to write a lot of text in our plans. It's going to be a sort of a magazine type format so that almost anybody can read it. And it will not have plain ease or jargon in it. We want to make sure it's written in plain English. And people can understand it by looking at maps about where things are going to happen, what are the objectives and goals in certain areas of the community. We do have an image here from one of our recent plans. This is Moline Center in Moline, Illinois. And it's just a clear map that shows, you know, what's going to happen in the downtown, what's going to happen in the adjacent areas. So a very crisp, clean map is how we'll describe to the community what that land use strategy will be all about. And then under the land use strategy, we'll have goals and policy statements. And again, they're all going to relate towards particular areas like downtown, the neighborhoods, the commercial corridors, industrial areas, and new residential areas. So they will all have certain policy statements so that they will serve as guideposts so that when you have to make decisions as a city council or when the planning commission has to make decisions, they can refer to that plan, and that plan should help them make the right decisions. And again, underneath all of those policies, there will be plan elements, and they get more specific about some of those strategies. And again, will conform very much to what the state of the city report is organized. So they'll go according towards each of those type of areas. And just examples, some of our prior plans, and again, just to stress that there will be a lot of graphics in there so that people can understand what we're recommending in the plan. And I'm just going to highlight a few of the plan elements. I'm not going to go into all of them in detail, but we are going to look at these very closely. Transportation obviously being a very important one. We're going to be looking at the overall condition of the road network and where we need to resolve issues with transportation, especially in regards to connectivity to certain areas, from one area to another, where there needs to be new roads, where we need to think about transit-oriented development. We're going to get a metro train system at some point in the future. We're also going to look at the concept of complete streets. I'm not sure if you heard about that concept or not, but it is a concept of accommodating bicycle lanes and streets where we think they can be accommodated. So another effort to try to improve mobility. If people don't have cars, they can get around on bicycles. So that's another thing that we're going to take a look at. Economic development is a very key component, and we are going to be looking at where there could be future residential growth, commercial growth, industrial demand, and making sure that we have enough land for growth to grow in those areas. We are going to look at downtown very closely. We're going to help define it. We heard that that is one issue. Is how do we define downtown and what do we do with it? So we'll present a couple of different scenarios of where we think the downtown could go. And then obviously the commercial and industrial corridors are something very closely we'll look at. And then infrastructure and community facilities, we are looking at all the existing capacities for streets or water, telecommunications, and utilities. Usually, to be honest, this section of the plan is usually done for us in advance because most communities have already studied it very, very closely. We've already done feasibility studies for these types of things. We're going to incorporate all those previous studies in the plan and then provide some strategic recommendations on those issues. So we are assessing community facilities, as I mentioned before, and where we need to make some recommended capital improvements according to some strategic planning strategies. Then housing and neighborhoods being a very key component for this planning assignment. And then I think one of the things we are looking at, because it is post-2008, we are looking at demographic trends. And then how do we develop a strategy that looks at, encouraging more housing development in your subdivisions. So we want to look at that very, very closely and look at the type of housing products that people may like going forward, may want to have. So issues like, is it more townhomes versus single family, or is it vice versa? It's just those types of issues that we'll take a look at and make recommendations for. Now, I've already mentioned downtown being very, very important. Not only defining it, but taking advantage of that riverfront. Are there opportunities to connect that river walk further to the west? Are there opportunity sets for development? How does that develop look? How do we take care of parking? What other streetscape and urban design elements are there? Are there tourism opportunities that we can take a look at? And then how do we manage downtown? Who's responsible for managing it? So those are the topics we'll be looking at downtown. And then urban design is something that was included in the RFP, which really interested us. We do provide urban design services, and we are very interested in looking at how do we make the community a bit more unified. You have this wonderful, historic core in your community, and you have these growing newer areas of the community. How do we tie it all together to make it feel like one Yorkville, one united Yorkville? And so we are going to look at things like gateways, how to improve the gateways into the community, wayfinding signage, things like placemaking and right-of-way improvements. So again, all really geared towards just improving the overall physical look and making people feel like we are in Yorkville. And then corridors being very important, obviously 47, the Inland corridor really important. So we are going to take a very close look at those and develop sub-area plans for those corridors and how they can grow and develop over time. And then last but not least, the implementation component. We will have a set of strategies. We will be incorporating within the plan specific implementation actions. How do you implement, things like improving the downtown, improving urban design, improving the housing market in Yorkville. We are going to look at a lot of different things. We also will be looking at your codes and make any recommendations regarding any of your codes. We will take a close look at them and make suggestions. We'll also make recommendations regarding capital improvements programming. We feel like your departments are ahead of the game. They do really well. So, but they have asked us to take a look at a few things. So we will be doing the recommendations on that. And then funding programs, and then partnerships with other entities and agencies. How do we develop stronger partnerships to be able to achieve some of the things we want to achieve? And then the community engagement component, many of you have already heard this before, but we are going to be doing several different layers of community engagement. One of the things that we've started already, and I'm sure you're aware, there is a website, a project website. It's called the Yorkville Plan. So it's on the internet, and it's an opportunity for the community to go on that website and get updates where the planning process is. You will also have an opportunity to sign up and get regular updates on what the planning process is. There is also a Mind Mixer link that we will be activating shortly, and it's an online form so that when we activate that, people will be able to communicate to us about what they'd like to see happen and be able to write their own comments and ideas, and we'll be able to see if we take that and note it as we go forward. So it'll be a great opportunity for the community to be able to sit at home and write down and tell us what they think. So we think it's going to be a great opportunity. But along the way, we will be having a series of meetings and open houses to allow people to give us comments. And there will be interactive exercises at those workshops. So it won't be us sitting at the lectern and giving speeches. It'll be a fun opportunity for the community to look at Yorkville and tell us where they want to see improvements. So there will be a variety of different things that will happen in the community engagement process. And then, let's see, is that it? That's it. Yeah, that's just a summary of the comprehensive plan structure and how it works, how it's all divided, and how it's all layered together. And just to give you an overview, as I said, we've started the first phase of the process. There's 3 phases overall. The first phase is going to go into 2015, mid-2015, where we're going to do the state of the city analysis. The state of the city report will, I believe, will be delivered in June or July 2015. Then the second phase, where we'll actually start developing the plan, will be the latter half of 2015. The first drafts of the comprehensive plan should be released by this time next year, hopefully. And then the final plan will be developed by June, probably June to July of 2016. And that's it. That's the comp plan process in a nutshell.
Thank you. Nick, do we have any questions from the council? Yes.
From a planning perspective, one of the things that I noticed about Yorkville is that we have downtown, we have this area right here on the school, then we've got these subdivisions. Most of them don't really feel like they're one particular part of Yorkville, they're just kind of part of Yorkville. How do you make a subdivision feel more like a part of the city that it's in, without taking away the subdivision's feel itself, from a planning perspective?
Right. Yeah, I don't think we want to take away any of the intrinsic qualities of the subdivisions, because I think they were developed for a reason, the way they were, the green space, the environmental qualities, and I think the placemaking components are something I think we want to take a look at. I think one way which we can unify Yorkville a little bit and feel like it's one community is the placemaking, things like wayfinding, gateway elements, that can at least, have, I'm trying to find the way to say, drainage. You can have a gateway, wayfinding system, you can sort of propose or at least support a drainage for Yorkville that everybody can identify when they're in the community or not. I think that's one thing that Naperville has. That one thing people in Naperville really like about it is no matter where you're at, Naperville, you still have the same signs. And that's just one minor way I think you can do it. And there can be consistent landscape and streetscape treatments, in certain areas that, gives a visual clue that you're in the same area. And then over time, when you develop and when you do good urban design, those elements will start to bind the community together. And those are things that will.
Thank you. This kind of follows up on Joel's question. There's times I think we need to be doing more to promote the history of Yorkville. And you touched on it in your presentation, but are you going to be making recommendations to us as to how we can accomplish that?
Sure, I think one thing that intrigues us, at least intrigues me personally, is that I am more of a downtown revitalization specialist. And I think there are some things in downtown that are worth keeping and probably worth enhancing a little bit. And I think, keeping some of the older buildings and maybe, and sort of binding the surrounding neighborhood together with the downtown a little bit more, can help promote that sense that there is a historic core in the community. And I think those will be some effective ways to promote history a little bit more. I think there will be opportunities to review. We're going to take a look at your downtown and look at are there possibilities, what types of businesses can locate inside the buildings. What do we do with the downtown and the other buildings surrounding it? And I think using a preservation-based approach to revitalizing the downtown might make sense here in Yorkville because there is a sense of the historic downtown there. I think we can capitalize on that.
Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I did have a question for Bart, actually. How are we going to advertise the webpage and a lot of these surveys? Are we going to be putting stuff on the water bill, or I don't know, Christie or Bart?
Sure, what we've been doing for a while is linking it up to Facebook and to Twitter, but we're also going to be putting it on our main website. So we've done that for a couple of weeks. The water bill inserts, once it gets going with all of the surveys, we'll do that as well. Also, we can promote it another way, and they have mentioned that it's through the park district too. So we send out information with the review reports and put that information out there as well.
They're getting ready to send out a winter catalog, aren't they?
Yes, and they're going to have a link. We're going to ask them.
Are they? Okay.
Part of it will be event outreach too, having a physical spot at an event for people to look at the plan. So we're open to a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
there's the immersion component as well. They're going to open an office in our downtown or somewhere in the community where residents can walk in at their leisure with a plan.
Oh, nice. Okay. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the comp plan update steering committee structure. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the recommended structure for the comprehensive plan update steering committee.
Second.
Okay, I mean, the information in your packet, staff recommendations for how we comprise our committee. Anyone have any questions, comments, concerns?
Just a question for you. How long is it going to take you to do that?
Depends. I mean, I have trouble getting people to volunteer for all of our boards. We'll see, I mean.
As the mayor, can you use a little muscle and ask people to not only consider, but strongly encourage them to consider?
Yeah, I would like also some recommendations. I mean, obviously, we'll go to the park board, look for their representative, library board, ask their library board president. But as far as, people out in the community, I know Morris Hospital will jump right in. I'm sure someone from Rush will be happy to sit in, so I don't see it being a problem to fill this. So I'm definitely open to recommendations. Anything else? Comments, questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Sealing,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Ritters.
Aye.
Spears,
Aye.
Osmann,
Aye.
Bunkhauser,
Aye.
Ostrowski.
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned. We have about 20 minutes until our next meeting.